You know what made the biggest difference in that fight, right? You want to ask the question.
Yeah. Well. First thing I want to know though is how did you score the fight? Do you agree with the final result?
Yeah, I agree with the final result. I either had it 8-4 or 7-5. That's how I had it.
And just remind me, what was your verdict for the first fight?
I thought I thought it could have went either way. Um, I think the difference in this fight was that Bivol threw more punches in bunches, especially when if Artur came and attacked him, he might have got some shots off, but he answered him right back, and I think that was a big difference. He took the first 2 rounds. I think he took the first two rounds, and then he let off the gas up until the seventh round.
So after the first fight, the way Beterbiev ended really strong.
Yeah,
A lot of people are saying, well, he's going to carry that on for the second fight, which he did in a way. He came out faster, but Bivol, he controlled it. What I mean, what was it about Bivol's game that allowed him to control or handle that pace that Beterbiev was coming at him in those early rounds as well?
so I think what really helped him out is if you watch it's within the first 2 rounds, what he did with his jab. Um, and it happens a couple times where he catches, he timed Beterbiev better this fight than he did the last fight. Like last fight, when he punched, he was reacting to whatever Beterbiev punching or whatnot. This time, he took that extra split second to wait for Beterbiev to come into him and catch him while he's coming in, and that happened a few times in the first round, and it happened a couple times in the second round as well. And it was all leading into off the jab. Um, and I think that's what changed the dynamics of the fight. And I 100% believe that they wanted to steal the first 2 rounds and probably give Beterbiev the middle of the fight, like rounds 3 through 7 or 3 through 8. I think they were just going to coast on it and see what they can do through those rounds. And if they pulled out a round, they pulled out a round. But the use of his lead hand and like his footwork is just on a whole different level. And people say, "Oh, his footwork's not that great." No, no, no. His footwork is his control of distance. That's what I'll say. Because of his footwork is on a whole different level. Because there are many times that he is within like inches of Artur Beterbiev about to catch him with a punch, and he's just within inches of him, and then he either counters him or he moves out the way. And when he moves out the way, he resets himself and he catches Beterbiev. And I think the ability for him to do that gave him confidence. And I think throughout the fight, um, when he let those, rounds 3 through 7 or 3 through 8 kind of like, go where he was more on defense. He was more defensively minded than offensively minded. I think that made a big difference.
So those middle rounds, it looked like Beterbiev was going to actually steamroll him after round six. I was thinking, well, Beterbiev's got this one in the bag now. He's going to keeps this up. It's going to be very difficult, Bivol. But then Bivol turned it around. So do you think it was Bivol just taking his foot off the gas, allowing Beterbiev to
I
come
think
in,
so.
and then he
I
just
think so.
turned it around?
I think so. I think he knows. I think he knew from the first round when he got, you know, he's felt his power. So he knows, like, I mean, anybody that you fight one time, you spar one time, you felt their power, you know what they can do. Like, you take the brunt of the force that they can punch with, you've taken it. And now it's, okay, I know what you can do power wise. I know I can take your power or I can't take your power. Bivol proved that he could take his power in the first fight, and he completely proved he can do it in the second fight. And I think, he got caught a couple times, but in the first fight he got caught a lot more than he did in the second fight. Um, and I think that's what made the difference. Like he got rocked in the first fight. He got rocked in the fight. I would say probably 2 times really well, and then but he didn't fall down. He didn't take a knee. He continued to go. So you know, and that plays. And I think we talked about this before when it was um, Fury and oh god,
Usyk.
Fury. No, Fury and Fury and Wilder. You know,
Okay.
he took all his best shots, got up from them, rose from the grave, took all his best shots, and I mean that's if that's all you got, you threw the kitchen sink at this guy, and this guy's still coming forward and able to move. Like it's an interesting dynamic because it has to play a mental it plays a mental trick on you. Like, man, I
Mm.
threw everything at this guy and I can't stop him.
Yeah, because it was one of the talking points after the first fight was that uh, Bivol would have to open up more in the second fight, but if he does that, he risks getting clipped by Beterbiev. In this fight, he
Hmm.
did open up more, and he stood up to
Yeah,
Beterbiev's
yeah.
power. I mean, so how did he manage that? Is that going back to what you said about he's already fought 12 rounds with him, so he kind of
He
has
knows.
that confidence?
Yeah, I think he has the confidence in himself. They came back with a different game plan instead of trying to start fast and take the first 6 rounds or whatever it is. They they went to get the first 2 rounds. They laid back because they probably were like, let's see what we can do to tire him out. Um, and then we're gonna go to our A game in rounds, 7, 8, 9, and then definitely after the ninth round, I mean it was a completely different fight. It just the ninth round I think was the round that really, in my opinion, just looking at the body language of Beterbiev, he 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 looked like he was defeated in the corner.
So, what do you think is more important for Beterbiev? So, for Bivol in this fight, was it he was just that much fitter this fight, or that his counter punching was that much better?
I think it's a couple things. So number one is the use of the lead hand and his counter punching, and then the ability to catch Bivol, the ability for Bivol to catch Beterbiev when he was coming in. He didn't do that as much as he did in the first fight. He did it more in the second fight. So he was able to catch him a lot more times. And I'm sorry, but a guy that's 175 pounds or 180 pounds, whatever he does after his hydration clause, comes into the fight and he's walking into punches from another guy his size, it makes a big difference. Like you catch him coming in, it's a big difference, whatever. And Bevel also focused on the body, not often, but he went to the body. And, you know, age plays a role. There's a reason that you don't have too many 40-year-old world champions. It's because age plays a role. Father Time catches up with everybody. And, that was one of the things that happened, I think played a role in the fight as well.
So, when you say the use of his lead hand, so it was what specifically? If because there's going to be people who are asking, they want to know the technicalities of this. What was most impressive about the way Bivol uses the lead hand, and what was he accomplishing?
So if you watch the first fight, he would try and like tap Beterbiev with a jab, and then he would kind of like leave the hand out there a little bit. Well, this time he was more aggressive with his jab. Number one, he was way more aggressive with his jab. And then he was popping him back, pushing him back with the jab, or catching him while he's coming in with his jab. And the other thing that he did with his lead hand, which he didn't do so much in the first fight, was he left it out there as a stick for like a split second or two, and that threw off Beterbiev. In my opinion, that kind of threw him off because you don't know, is he gonna if I'm building a rhythm where I'm hitting you with a jab and now I'm just putting my hand out there, now, am I going to hit you with a jab or I'm going to hit you with the right hand? I think that's goes back to like the whole Soviet style where they keep the hand out there like I say like an anglerfish or whatever, where they keep it out there. Um, it's like a bait, and then when you come in, I'm
Mm.
going to catch you with my right hand. Well, he used that, and then the other thing that he did, what I noticed was he would drop his lead hand, and he would keep his lead hand drop below his chest, and then he would like go like this with it with a couple times. Like he's about to throw a jab, and then he didn't, and then his hands came back up, and then he would throw a jab. And that happened a couple times. That happened a couple times within certain rounds, and I think that's what made the difference from last fight to this fight, because you're trying to time what your opponent's doing, but if he's constantly doing something different with his lead hand, it's gonna throw you off. And then his ability to move, like he hit and then he moved out the way. And his ability to move and punch at the same time made a difference too, because I would think what was it, in the third or fourth round, Beterbiev is seen walking Bivol down to the ropes, and like he just walks him down with punches, but they're not strong punches because Bivol's moving out of the way. He was moving towards Beterbiev's corner. So I remember, and he's trying to walk him down with punches. He's moving towards Beterbiev's corner, and then he moves out the way, and then he comes back with like 3 shots, and then gets out of distance. So he made his shots ineffective as well. So where he was able to walk him down before, I don't think he was able to walk him down as effectively as he did the first fight.
Yeah, so it sounds like he kept Beterbiev guessing using that tempo sort of change with the jabs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's all about, you mentioned that Bivol was catching Beterbiev on the way in. So describe to some of the listeners how would Bivol accomplish hitting someone on the way in? Because that's actually quite difficult. It's a lot of timing involved in catching someone on the way in. So how did Bivol accomplish that?
So I think it's more about if he's walking in, he knows, at least from how I would approach it is, I know this guy is going to walk in, and I know he's about to throw his jab. As soon as I see he's about to throw his jab, I want to get my jab off first, or I want to get my right hand off first. So as soon as he sees that punch coming, he's just trying to get that shot out there and then stop his opponent dead in his tracks. And I think that's what happened, because no matter what, Beterbiev is walking you down that entire fight. And the more he walks you down, and the only way that Beterbiev is going to speed up, he's not going to get on his toes and start moving like Bivol. He's going to run into I would say, take quicker steps into the opponent. And so while he's doing that, he sees that all you got to do is catch him coming in. It's not an easy thing to do. And then, if you look at that fight, that is probably one of the cleanest fights that the referee, literally, I think he stepped in maybe 2 times. They clenched maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times, but 2 times the referee had to step into the fight, and that was just to break them apart. Other than that, it was an extremely clean fight. And to do that without holding, at that high level of skill set, to do everything that they both did without holding, tying each other up, that to me is amazing, because many people don't think about that when they look at a fight. It's like, these guys didn't even hold each other. Like a couple times Bivol tied up Beterbiev, and I think the other thing that he was very successful with is that when he got in his high guard, he would be in Beterbiev's chest, so Beterbiev couldn't get shots off. So he closed the distance, and maybe hit him with 1, maybe 2 shots, but they weren't clean shots. And then he would make distance, move out the way, and then he would either counter or throw a couple shots just to throw them out, just to see if they land, because that's what he did. He threw more punches and bunches.
Did you see Beterbiev doing anything different from the first fight that caused Bivol problems? Or do you think Bivol was pretty much prepared for everything?
I think he was.
And he knew what to expect.
I think he was heavily prepared for what was coming. I think he knew that he was going to get walked down. And the thing with Beterbiev is they're both highly skilled fighters, but Beterbiev is more of like we talked about it before, he's more of a power puncher. He's more of I'm going to walk you down. Well, if you're able to negate him walking you down and cutting off the ring, I'm not sure what else he's going to do. because Bivol is able to move laterally, both side to side, and Beterbiev can do that, but he can only do that as he's walking you down. You understand what I mean, right?
Mm.
So I think that's the big difference is the the ability to adjust and know what he was doing ahead of time.
So did you see Beterbiev throwing more body punches as a lot of people were calling for after the first fight, or do you think Bivol negated his ability to land those body punches?
I was surprised that he wasn't gonna throw more. I was expecting him to throw more
Mm.
body shots, and he didn't. And and that's, I guess it goes back to maybe the Soviet school of boxing where where they're more worried about throwing one or two body shots, whereas you know the Western or the typical American style of boxing, we want to focus on throwing multiple body shots to wear our people down, to wear our fight opponent down. And I think that's one of the things that I think a good deal of uh, Eastern Bloc countries struggle with is because it's like what we talked about when we first got on, is that there's certain things that are ingrained in the culture of boxing within those countries, and body shots are used strategically as power shots, whereas in American boxing, they're both used as power shots, but they're also used to drain you or wear you down.
Mm.
Make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So on hindsight, what do you think Beterbiev could have done different then?
I'm not sure.
Because they,
I think if he would have been able to stop Bevo from uh, moving laterally, if he would have been able to catch him in the corner more, because he spent a lot of time with his back towards the ropes. Bevo did. He spent a good amount of his time back to the ropes, um, and I'm not sure if he just couldn't walk him down or stop him. And then people will say, "Oh, he ran the whole fight." I don't know what fight people were watching when they say that because it like genuinely upsets me. He didn't fight him like a real man. That's what there's a guy that commented on one of my YouTube videos. He's like, he didn't fight him man to man. He ran away. I'm like, I did you watch the fight? Like, I'm not sure what does fighting somebody like a man mean? If you mean going toe to toe, he did go toe to toe with him, and then he moved out the way. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. It's hit, don't get hit. So, you
yeah,
know, um, it's an interesting. I think they're two very very good fighters, and
yeah,
I believe it should be. Uh, People should watch that fight religiously to see like the minor adjustments that they do because they fight within they fight within confines, if you know what I mean. High guard, they barely hold on to each other, they just are looking to land clean shots, and it's like to do that for 12 rounds. That's the other impressive thing, to do that for 12 rounds, not hold on to your other opponent, not tie them up. That takes a lot of conditioning and a lot of mental fortitude.
yeah, yeah. They're two extremely skilled boxers, and some of those exchanges, it's like you mentioned earlier about the distance. They are just making each other miss by an inch,
Yeah, yeah.
and coming back with punches, and the instinct as well. The control of distance and what they could see coming. It's almost like they were both fighting in the zone at the same time. It was amazing to watch. Yeah, like you say, people should watch this a lot more. So Bivol's now done 24 rounds with Beterbiev. He's the only person Beterbiev hasn't knocked out. Should they fight a third time? And if they do you think it's going to be? Well, I mean, I spoke to Coltrane the other day, and he said a more convincing win for Bivol. Do you think that's going to be
I,
the case this time as well? If they fight a third time, it's more convincing for
yeah,
Bivol?
I think if they fight a third time, it'd be more convincing for Bevo, just because age is on Bevo's side. Even though Bevo's in his mid 30s or whatever, but I'm just gonna say like the 40-year-old, you know, nothing to take away from Beterbiev. I mean, he's in the top 0.00001% of human beings when it comes to athleticism at 40 years old, but you're fighting against another guy that's in the 0.0001% of 35 or 33-year-olds in the world, and that makes a big difference. And I just feel that unless you can knock him out or hurt him, I don't see it going any different than what it did the second fight. I believe it would be more one-sided to Bivol's um, thing unless Beterbiev goes in there just to headhunt and knock him out. But then
Yeah.
that becomes a issue of then he opens himself up and he can tire himself out, you know.
Yeah, it could be a case of perhaps Bivol gets reckless because he's handled 24 rounds. Maybe he opens up more, stands a little bit longer in the pocket and gets clipped. But yeah, like you said, it's going to be a tough ask, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because so he's supremely skilled, Bivol. So how would you? We had this conversation culture. How would you handle Bivol's style of fighting? I said, yeah, the Mexican style of fighting, the pressure, pressure, pressure. Maybe perhaps that works best, but Beterbiev applies pressure, and they've had been two close fights. They've been two close fights, but I mean, more body punching when you pressure. I don't know what would be your sort of plan of attack to Bivol's style of fighting? Because it's very
I would
difficult. Yeah,
so I would uh I think you would have to stand in the middle of the ring. You have to control the middle of the ring to beat Bivol. You have to wait for him to come to you. Don't try and attack. You can attack him once whatever, but you need to be like on your A game and counterpunch him nonstop. That would be my thinking. And then once you counterpunch him, then attack him, tie him up. Attack him, tie him up, get back to the center of the ring, work on counterpunching, attack him, tie him up, go back to the center ring. That you know, you have to vary what you would have to do with him. But I just think his boxing IQ is too good for that right now.
do you think
Like I
there's
mean,
anyone?
like if Benavidez fights him, I mean, I like David Benavidez. He's a great guy, but I don't think that he has the ability to defeat Bivol. Not I don't think so.
Yeah, I think Bivol and Beterbiev are so far ahead of the rest of the pack. Just fighting each other a third time probably is the only option they have, really. Today it was announced that Benavidez is the mandatory now for Bivol, isn't he? So could possibly get that fight. So you don't see that game any different. Then it's going to be a wide point. So I'm guessing is your pick then.
So the good thing about uh, Benavidez is he's able to punch. He has a high punch output. He has a great high punch output. Um, his last fight, you know, he might have gotten careless, or maybe the better whatever. The guy caught him a couple times. All right. Now that guy has what was the guy's name? Morales, right? Yeah,
David
he
Morrell,
fought.
yeah, David
Yeah,
Morrell.
Morel. Morel. So he fought Morel. Morel's footwork is nowhere near where Bevo's footwork is. Like movement wise, it's just not on the same level. And we've seen him fight 24 rounds with probably the scariest light heavyweight puncher that I've seen since Michael Moore. Um, and he hasn't gone down. So
Mm.
I don't know how you can say that what Benavidez will do differently. Will it be the onslaught of punches? I'm not sure because even if he tries to walk him down, um, Bevo had probably the most difficult person to fight when it comes to walking you down, Beterbiev, and he was able to handle it.
So why do you think the Eastern European Russian style is dominating the heavier weight classes now?
They're more skilled.
Do you think it just comes down purely to skills or movement? Um,
I think a lot of it is mental. I think
so
it's
the
a
so the,
lot of it.
the ring
It's
IQ as well.
the ring IQ. So, okay.
Or mental toughness. Is that what you're referring to? Growing up
So
in
the
a
med,
tougher sort of environment.
so the tougher the okay. So I wouldn't say tougher environment. I'm just saying a different environment. Uh, and what I mean by that is, what did Bevo say? What did Beterbiev say after he lost? He wasn't upset. He was calm. What he did after the first fight that he won is the exact same thing that he did after the second fight that he lost. Bivol Same thing. He was glad he won the fight, but they're super humble guys, and that's not something that I believe you teach somebody. That's just something that is culturally either ingrained in you or a life experience. And I think the same thing with Usyk when he beat Fury the second time, or any time. He's a humble guy. The guy just won a world championship. He's talking about his kids. You know what I mean? Like that was Usyk after the
Mm.
most recent fight with Fury. He's talking about his kids or whatever. That's what he was worried about after the fight. So I think that plays a role in it. Um, it's just different cultures. That's what it is. Um, that's just my theory on it.
Just the mindset, then, is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just like when people say, okay, so when people look at like I'll use Japanese baseball as an example. So um, like Japanese baseball is almost exactly like American baseball, but when Shohei Ohtani, that plays for the Los Angeles Dodgers, got this like I think it was like a 500 some or 600 some $1 million contract over however many years. All right, everybody's like, well, like how did he do it? What all of this, whatever. Like it's part of the culture of trying to be perfect and trying to do everything as best as I can do it. And I think that is probably what you see within the Eastern Bloc or Soviet Bloc countries, through the last 70 years after World War II. That was their form of, I guess you could say, that was their form of war, was going to the Olympics. If we won more medals than the U.S., we won the war. You know what I mean? During the Cold War,
Mm.
and I think that is just ingrained into the mindset and the culture of those Soviet bloc countries or Eastern/Soviet bloc countries.